I just fight real fighters.
The truth is, these sports washing shady characters are paying you hundreds of millions of dollars to stop our fight from happening, and you're screwing over all your Mexican fans.
Canelo Alvarez just shut down Jake Paul in a brutal way during his Instagram live. And it's safe to say, Jake's been left reeling. True to form, Jake tried to hype up a fight with Canelo, something that never even got a serious look from the champion. After all, Canelo's out there defending world titles, not wasting time entertaining a YouTuber who's treating boxing like a hobby. As soon as Canelo's response went viral, it became clear that Jake had once again launched a fake headline. And this one was just as empty as the last.
He says he wants to fight Canelo. I'm just saying what he. That's what he.
Hear you. Then why is he not fighting Canelo? I mean, it'd be a fucking 30-second payday for Canelo.
We're barely a month into 2025, and Jake's already back at it with another made-up fight announcement. This time, he was claiming a showdown with Canelo for May 3rd, 2025, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Cinco de Mayo weekend, no less. The timing sounded like something straight out of a Hollywood script. Too bad it was all a fantasy. Jake imagined this would be a blockbuster.
The reporting of the information May 3rd coming out yesterday, I don't think was coincidence in the sense that perhaps there was a little litmus test being done there.
Jake imagined this would be a blockbuster event, but the reality was far different. Canelo never even gave a nod to the idea. As expected, the fight never got past the trailer stage. Canelo was busy making history, not entertaining these wild claims. The boxing scene treated this like its first big event. Big money, big marketing, big exposure. But the real question was, who was funding this nonsense? Reports claimed a $100 million offer for Canelo. But let's be...
They said it was all but done, right? How did it go from all but done to a change of heart? No, putting it out there to maybe try to get to see, how the public would react to it.
Real. Where was that money coming from? Netflix? A mystery billionaire? A random Saudi investor? No one had a clue. The whole setup felt shady, unnecessary, and about as legit as a Jake Paul boxing masterclass. Then came the biggest red flag of all, the weight difference. Canelo, a 168-pound super middleweight, had spent years dominating world-class fighters in his division. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is a 200-pound cruiserweight with a resume made up of retired MMA fighters and washed-up boxers.
Canelo, Jake Paul's made a lot of noise, especially last week. Do you take any notice of him?
Who?
Jake Paul. Do you take any notice of him? He said
that team.
That's a 32-pound difference, which in boxing terms is like an elephant fighting a cheetah, two completely different animals. Either Jake wanted Canelo to bulk up and slow down, or he thought he could sell the idea of this being a fair fight. Either way, it screamed desperation, but the media circus ate it up. ESPN.
He said maybe in 2 years we can talk, but
because I think some people would love you for knocking him out. I think that's
maybe. Yeah, you're right.
The Ring. Even Eddie Hearn were all speculating that it was actually happening. Meanwhile, the only two people who mattered, Canelo and Jake's own promotion, MVP, stayed completely silent. No contracts, no official announcements, just a flood of clickbait headlines that worked perfectly in Jake's favor. But then the cracks started to show. If Jake actually believed this fight was real, he was in serious denial. Canelo never took it seriously, not for a second. Every time Jake's name came up...
Get this tweet from Turki Al-Sheikh himself. He says, "Don't mess with the Lion. 4 fights for Canelo with Riyadh season. The deal is done. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Fear the lion, not the jungle."
Canelo didn't just dismiss it. He laughed. And not just any laugh, the kind you give when a toddler challenges you to a push-up contest. Here's the reality. Canelo doesn't chase gimmicks for money. He makes over $40 million per fight against actual elite boxers. He doesn't need to share a ring with a social media prankster to get paid. His name sells arenas.
And even under this, you have Terrence Crawford. "I'm waiting on Canelo in September and going to shock the world in Riyadh season." So that tweet comes out, and immediately the thought is, holy shit, what the just happened? Because the previous offer was 3 fights for Canelo that apparently was done for, that he was washing away and rethinking because Turki was going to look to do other things because Canelo was supposedly going to fight Jake now.
And his fights generate millions. Meanwhile, Jake Paul needs big names just to stay relevant. And that's where the Butterbean problem comes in. Remember Butterbean? the novelty fighter everyone loved until he faced a real challenge. That's Jake Paul in 2024. The moment he stopped knocking out retired UFC fighters, the illusion cracked. He fought Tommy Fury, a boxer his own size, and lost. No hype, no mystery, just cold, hard reality. Jake Paul wasn't untouchable. He wasn't a threat. He was just another guy using boxing for clout. Meanwhile, Canelo was securing a 4-fight mega deal with Riyadh Season, a deal guaranteeing more money, more prestige.
Hey guys, don't pay attention in anything. In this f***ing YouTuber, I just fight real fighters. Don't f***ing around with Canelo.
And better fights than anything Jake Paul could dream of. While Jake was out here yelling about fantasy matchups, Canelo was in real talks with the likes of Terence Crawford, Charlo, Bivol, and Benavidez. Legacy fights, career-defining moments. 4 days before what was supposed to be fight night, while Jake Paul's team was still fueling the illusion, Canelo Alvarez casually went live on Instagram and
time to expose him. So we had a signed contract to fight. Here you can see Canelo's signature and my signature to the right, claiming he's not fighting YouTubers. Bullshit. Look at the poster. We were announcing Tuesday, February 11th, claiming he fights real fighters, but he's fighting Crawford, a 135-pound fighter, and running from a real fighter like David Benavidez.
Shut it all down. No dramatic announcement, no long statement. Just 12 words that wiped out months of nonsense in an instant. That was it. No fluff, no sugarcoating. Canelo effortlessly bulldozed the entire PR stunt in real time. For weeks, Jake Paul and MVP had been hyping the fight like it was locked in. Articles were published, social media buzzed, and Jake even posted training clips as if he was really about to face one of the greatest boxers alive. But Canelo's one-liner shattered the fantasy in an instant. The funniest part? The only ones claiming the fight was happening were Jake Paul, MVP, and a few conveniently vague sources. Back in March, rumors started about advanced talks between Jake and Canelo.
You're a money-hungry squirrel chasing your next nut. The truth is these sports-washing shady characters are paying you hundreds of millions of dollars to stop our fight from happening because they couldn't fathom the fact that they can't create a bigger fight than me and you.
Major outlets like The Ring, ESPN, and Eddie Hearn speculated, but there was no official confirmation. The only people treating it as fact, Jake Paul's camp. Just when it seemed like the dream wasn't completely dead, Turkey Al Sheikh stepped in to drive the
get a guy like Tyson and
to try to get some credibility back.
When he fought somebody that was actually his age and was actually a boxer and was actually his size, he lost.
Turkey Al Sheikh hates crossover fights and has been vocal about it. The moment the rumors started flying, Turkey wasted no time dismissing them, even retweeting a post from The Ring magazine, which he owns, shutting the whole thing down. And just to make sure everyone got the message, on February 8th, 2025, one day after Canelo...
Potential showdown in May, Cinco de Mayo weekend. At the same time as all of this, there is great interest from Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh Season to put on a Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford fight. So these two conversations are happening somewhat in parallel.
Canelo humiliated Jake on Instagram. He fired off a direct shot at influencer boxing. Canelo fights real fighters. No ambiguity, no wiggle room, just a public reminder that Jake Paul was never even in the conversation. And this wasn't just about Jake Paul. Turkey Al Sheikh has been on a mission to rid boxing of gimmicks and YouTube stunt fights.
Is a two-faced, lying fucking nut job, you know? And yeah. Me and Oscar are never going to be.
Ever since he started investing in the sport, Riyadh Season has been signing legitimate fighters and putting together super fight cards that show the sport is returning to its roots. The pushback against Jake didn't stop there. TKO, the parent company of UFC and WWE.
My understanding is, as far as MVP is concerned, they didn't really care about the Terence Crawford fight. One fight's happening in May, one fight is scheduled to happen in September. I did get the impression, and this came to light last night, that
he also wants nothing to do with him. Jake has spent years trashing Dana White, calling out fighter pay, and positioning himself as the savior of combat sports. But behind the scenes, he's not even on their radar. In January 2025, while Jake was out here talking about making the biggest fights happen, TKO executives were meeting with Turki Al-Sheikh, Dana White, and WWE President Nick Khan. The message was clear. Jake Paul wasn't in the room because he wasn't wanted. UFC and WWE have a strong relationship with Riyadh Season. They're expanding globally, signing major partnerships, and doing business with people who actually run the sport. Jake, whose entire brand was built on attacking Dana White and the UFC, is realizing his stunts aren't working on the people who truly make the decisions. And that's the brutal truth. Jake Paul doesn't fit into the future of boxing. The gimmicks are fading away. The sport is evolving. Real boxing is back. If you want to stay up to date with this shift, hit subscribe and check back regularly.